Welcome to this latest episode of Sharam Namdarian Starts a Revolution, the podcast where you and I, we accidentally start a revolution. Now, I figured out how to make this podcast because it's important that this podcast is popular. Not because I wanted to sustain my life, but also because we're gonna start a revolution. We need it to be good, right? So, if you watched or listened to the last episode, which to be honest was the most popular episode I've done, it was literally, I would say, an apathetic pity party. It was me basically whinging and crying and dealing with the review I got from The Age for my comedy festival show, which, to be honest, made me a real comedian. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody else, for getting positive 5 stars all the time. 4 stars. Oh, it's so good being instantly right out of the gate good. But you've never been criticized and demonized like I have. Point is, every comedian starts out shit, and I've got it in paper. So yeah, that'll be a perpetual knife in my back, I reckon. But this podcast needs to be way more fun. I feel like the last episode, it was good. It went to a level that of honesty, which is good for this sort of stuff. I think I want to be that honest with you, you, the people. But it is important that this podcast is fun. So I've got a lot of stuff that I do want to talk about. Okay, so there's about 3 shows left for my Melbourne International Comedy Festival show. If you are in Melbourne or coming to Melbourne for the long weekend, please, for the love of God, see my show. It's a 120-seater venue. I've had up to 15 people in every single show. Oh, I'm almost breaking even, I'm almost not even, let's be honest, people. I'm not breaking even. I'm almost about to pay the venue back nothing. That's really where I'm at. I bit off way more than I can chew. And I've learnt that because it's interesting, right? I've realized what I do is I tend to bite off more than I can chew because I'm so used to telling myself I'm bad at something that, I watch everyone else. Everyone else sold out their shows. It's like, yeah, because they had a 15-seater. They had a 20-seater. If I had that same seater, I could have very well easily told people I sold out my show. So yeah, it's going to be crazy. But it has been absolutely nuts, right? The hardest show I did was to an audience of 2 people, and that was insane. That was absolutely insane. 2 people in a auditorium that fits 120 people. That's actually a seminar room. I had to overact it in order to get people, in order for them to laugh at how absurd their life has become. It was just absolutely insane. And I also want to shout out to Drew and Tim, 2 comedians who have been helping me tech the show. Thank you so much. You guys have been absolutely great. I know Drew listens to this sometimes, or watches this sometimes, so yeah! He's pointed out that I go, yeah, pretty much when I'm trying to remember a joke and I'm stalling because I'm like, what's this thing? Yeah, so the festival's been crazy, but oh my God, I'm so tired. So tired. Doing the same show every single night for 2 weeks, same time, is exhausting. And you might say, no shit, Sherlock. But no shit, Sherlock. How did I not? I've done it before. But usually the venue would force me to have a break. The venue would force me and be like, look, Tuesdays, we don't have Tuesdays, or we don't have Mondays. And I'm like, all right, 2 weeks straight, not including Mondays. Yeah. But holy crap-a-moly, if you don't have a break, this is why weekends exists. Did you ever know that weekends exist for a reason? You need the time off to integrate the thing. I've been telling people in my regular life, because I am too human. And I am too human. I've been telling people in my regular life what it feels like. It's like, have you ever worked out, And when you work out, the next day, often you feel quite tired. Like your body is in recovery mode. It's digesting, it's processing the things, it's recovering your nervous system. It feels like that. Like I'm waking up the same tired as if I've had a crazy workout, but the workout is all in the brain. Like my brain feels fatigued. Yeah, it's a crazy journey, and I recommend everyone to do it if you're insane. Either that or you can join this revolution. Now, look, I vaguely themed this podcast around me starting a revolution. I don't know if that was the best idea. I'm starting to regret it a little bit. Should it have just been the Sharam Namdarian show? I don't know, but I've bit off. I think it's a fun premise, because if I ever think, I should just call it the Sharam Namdarian show, I get annoyed because I think it's a boring concept and there are a million comedian name, insert name here shows. So like the vague concept that this podcast is going to get so popular that we start a revolution, or like governments are going to be freaking out because they're like, oh shit, Sharam announced a podcast. All of the people that listen to it are just going to do what he says or whatever, is insane. Like life is pointless. Like it's fun, it's exciting, it's whatever, but also like it's we take everything so seriously, I think. And I think that's what this thing stands for, is the arbitrary nature of existence. Like we never wanted to be born, and now we're here and we're like, I think I want to be an accountant. Like you never wanted to want things, you just were born. Yeah, so the festival's been fun. I managed to do some other shows and stuff like that. Next year, I think really what I'll be doing is a lot of random stuff. Like, so it might be like three days here, 4 days this other thing. Just a lot of lineups. I need to participate in the comedy scene more. Like, I just need to participate more. I run the Dirty Secrets comedy. That's fun. But I do need to participate more. Like, I need to connect with more comedians better, more openly, more honestly. Like, I realize sometimes I have my walls up, and some people have been pointing that out. Like, famous comedian Dan Rosario, he points it out. He's like, dude, you need to open up and hang more. And I'm like, I can't. Do you know what it's like? This is, okay, let's get into the meat of it all. I work 9 to 5. That's right. This is a rags to riches story. You're in the rags section. If you hang out in this show long enough, we'll get to the pennies section. Then we'll get to the dollars section. Then we'll get to the riches section. But right now we're in the rags section. So I'm working 9 to 5. And to be honest, I like my job. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stress, but it's a lot of fun. But the last episode I put out, it got so far, it's at 400 views on YouTube. Crazy, considering that all the other episodes have got 2 views, 12 views, whatever. 400 views. Now I look at the AdSense on that. That's 50 cents at 400 views. If I made this podcast interesting and something people wanted to watch and to carry on with and to connect with every week, holy crap, moly, that's $1. We skip the pennies section. We get straight to the dollars. And if that happens, that's my life set. Have you ever worked like a daytime job and a nighttime job at the same time while trying to write? Like, my life is full. People are like, hey, you should like loosen up. And I'm like, I'm trying so hard to loosen up. I'm a man in my own tower that I created. I don't know. This is why people like, you're neuro something. And I'm like, I don't want to be diagnosed. I don't care. It is like, I have a structured brain. I have such a structured brain. I create things and I get stuck in those structures and it's annoying. And then I'm so like, people like, you need this morning routine. I'm like, no, I need less routines. You tell me to do a thing, I'll do it, then I'm stuck. And then it's like, why didn't you do this other thing? It's like, you told me to do the routine. Like, hustle culture is for chumps. Just have a reason to live. Fuck. Oh my God. People who follow hustle culture because they feel like they're lacking is that. You're lacking. Deal with the lack. You won't need the hustle culture anymore. You'll just be whatever. I don't know if people really have hustle culture anymore. It's a bit of a joke these days, to be honest. Shit. And my show is called From Brunswick with Love, and I finally learned how to address it in the show. But did you know? And this, you'll think this is very obvious. But naming a show From Brunswick with Love means that some people think the entire show is just me ragging on Brunswick. Who would have thunk? I should have thunk. It's interesting because when you do that, it is very much like when people come to the show and I finally do the Brunswick joke and those people were from Brunswick, their hearts open up like a flurry of diamonds opening up to receive the birth of the universe that is this one Brunswick joke. Like, it's insane. So I've got to think more about the ramifications of my the titling of comedy shows, because it's more of a sticky wicket than you think. Hey, here's some stuff that we could start arbitrary revolutions on. Why is it easier to pirate shows? This is a premise, but fuck it. Why is it easier to pirate shows than it is to actually stream the show from the relative platform? I think we're in a weird world now where for a while people pirated shows, we downloaded them, we torrented them, we did all this sort of stuff with them. I've been thinking a lot about this. But nowadays, it's actually easier to pirate the show than it is to pay for the show. Pirating was overall less because they just made it easier. Like, why would you fight your way through a million ads, have to download or download the thing, if Netflix, you could just pay like $10 a month and have access to all of this stuff? I found that really interesting because, cost of living. Oh, shit. We had this thing where we were like, oh, the last episode of White Lotus is here, but we don't want to pay for Binge anymore. Like, we're not going to be using it after White Lotus. And we paid for it for months. So we're like, fuck it, we'll just get off it. And Binge has ads, or at least the shittiest, the peasant version. The peasant version of Binge has ads. And so it was easier for us to then just be like, oh, the last episode, we'll just pirate it, whatever, we've paid enough. And so we did. And it was actually easier to watch it as a pirate, as an R, than it was the actual streaming platform. Because the pirate doesn't have ads. Binge is basically punishing people for being peasants, is what I'm trying to say. We're all peasants, and we're trying to survive, and Binge and all the other streaming platforms is like, hey, you want to watch this? You're a fucking peasant. Your money is no longer enough. We have to stream ads while you watch the show because you are not enough. That, to me, if we're starting a revolution, we're starting with that. That's why I'm doing stand-up comedy. You can't pirate a show. You can obviously pirate a special or whatever, especially if it's on a platform. And that's different. But the in-person experience, the spontaneity, the liveness of it all is interesting. You cannot pirate a live show. You will not get that experience. So, but Binge, Netflix eventually, or if it does, it probably already has it. Disney started doing this. But Disney allows you to skip it. I don't know all the other platforms, but they probably have it too. Prime. They're basically saying, unless you give us more money, you are a peasant. And do you know what peasants do? They revolt. They revolutionize. They take down the fucking kings and queens. The Jeff Bezoses, I don't know. It's just interesting. It just seems like a counterintuitive thing. That's what companies do. And fuck it, if I'm rich, that's what I'll do. You try and squeeze the things to try and get the most out of people that you can, and then you realize you've squeezed too far, and then you go, oh, this isn't the peasant version, because there's the tiers, right? If you want no ads, you can pay us more. And it's like, but it wasn't. You decided that I was a peasant. You decided that I was suddenly not good enough for that my money was no longer good enough. What are we paying for? I don't want to pay to be a peasant anymore. It actually feels better to just be a pirate than it is to be a peasant. What do you want to be? So we streamed the final episode and it was like, oh my God, this is so much nicer. There's no ads. We don't have binge being like, hey, peasant, you want to watch this? You want to watch rich people hate each other on this show called White Lotus, season 3? That was surprisingly the best season yet. Admit you're a peasant. That's what they're basically saying. I think it's crazy. I think that, supply and demand, right? If they're supplying it and there's no demand for it because the supply is filled with ads, then they got to change the supply. That's it. We're in a weird economic place right now, and I think that's insane. On the other hand, Trump tariffs. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about that. Because I spend a lot of time, I'm chronically online, it's a problem. That's why I think that I only exist unless I do a podcast. I'm chronically online, it's a problem. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but people have been talking about, so there was the Trump tariffs, which apparently, has rumored to go up to the Trump Chinese, so that's not even American, it's the Trump tariffs. That's the dumbest part about it. Trump has done tariffs on China that could go up to 245%. Now, on my own Instagram, I posted saying something like, I reckon the tariffs are going to go above 200. Who wants to place bets? Guess what? No one took my bet because you all chump bastard wannabes who can't handle that I can predict the future. But so it's interesting because what's happened now is factory workers in China have started to produce their own content on TikTok and other social media platforms, basically trying to sell their products direct to consumer. Now, they do not have online stores. You have to talk to what they call an agent, someone who's an import-export agent, basically someone who's working for them who can export the product. But obviously the news likes to spin it like China's retaliation, TikTok is now pumping algorithms and trying to undercut whatever. No, they're not. I love the phrase, if you read only headlines, you will get a headline mind. I did 5 minutes of investigation, therefore I have a 5-minute mind. But there was even one guy who basically started this trend of trying to sell luxury bags. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about how your luxury bags aren't actually luxury. They are made in China, then they're shipped to, say, Italy, where they're finalized, and then they're basically shipped all over the world. So they can say made in Italy because it was partly made in Italy. But the materials that were maybe not necessarily from Italy. But that guy, why would that be Chinese retaliation through TikTok trying to flood TikTok and social media with their factory workers selling their product direct to consumers because they need to make more money? When that guy who's the person who started the trend while talking about these luxury bags, he was banned. He was banned multiple times and had to start multiple different accounts. Unless it's an amazing Chinese cover-up, in which I love that. They're going, if people look into it, they'll see this guy was banned. So they won't think it's us. They'll think it's individual people. Dude, it is just people trying to make money online, just like me. Watch this podcast. Share it with your friends. It's insane. I do think that conspiracy theories are indicative of some truth. Like, I think as a society and as a collective hive mind, we know when people are lying to us. So basically, I think a conspiracy theory is not necessarily true, but it is indicative of a lie, that there is some form of cover-up happening. Like, oh, did we go to space? Yeah, I reckon we did go to the moon. But I reckon there is some lie somewhere else that people are feeling. Like, no one objects to that plants need water because otherwise plants won't grow. You know what I mean? Like, no one's objecting to that. We've all accepted it. But if someone was to lie about it, we would all fight it because we would know as a collective hive mind. We root out the problems. Anyway, what's next for me in this thing? First of all, I've got to figure out if I'm sticking with the idea of Sharam Namdarian starts a revolution, because I've got to figure this out now. I've got guests coming on the show. We've got good guests who've said yes. I don't want to say names. These are good guests, like Australian icons or almost Australian icons when it comes to comedy, right? So you'll look at these names and you go, wow, how do you know these people? Yeah, that's right. Dumpster fire comedian Sharam Namdarian. The quote from The Age is refreshing. That's not the full quote. Oh, gotta get over it. But point is I've got to figure that out. So if you've listened up to this far, please let me know. Do you like this thing? Because in the future, if we do stick with the Sharam Namdarian starts a revolution, right? What will happen is we'll do like fake, not like fake protests. We'll come up with a symbol. We'll come up with a salute. We'll come up with a thing, like all the attributes of a full-blown revolution, but for no point, just for comedic purposes. Because I wanted this to be a diary. I wanted this to be talking about whatever's going on in my life and connect with other people. And maybe at the end, maybe we start a revolution. But today's revolution is figure out whether or not you want to pay for the streaming platforms if they give you ads. I think it's so dumb. Prime, Amazon Prime, they're like, you're paying for Prime. The way they see it is not that you're paying for Prime Video, that they just have a library that you get access to only, and you can buy more from them if you want to. Do you know what Prime... Here's the truth. All right? Here's the truth. Any Prime movie... Here's the truth. Any Prime show, TV show, any Amazon Prime TV show or movie that is locked behind a paywall on Amazon Prime is going to be available for free at the same quality the day, if not the next day, on all these other platforms. That, to me, is very interesting. If you want to support the arts, make the people who supply the arts better. Make them realize that they are fucking everybody up by making it harder to watch their shows. Join the revolution. Thank you for watching. Or listening.